What have we got, Matthias?
Episode 10,000.
Episode 10,000.
Would you ever do a 24-hour live stream?
That sounds horrible. I would rather masturbate with a cheese grater.
Joel Kime, first question, on Facebook says, when is it okay to be focused on the money side of things?
Look, I don't think it's ever okay to be focused on the money unless you want the consequences that that's going to bring. We need to understand what the focus on money actually does fundamentally to our psychology, but also our behaviors. When people focus on money, it narrows their perspective. Okay, when people focus on money, it increases the probability of them experiencing stress. But also when people focus on money, they're 8 times more likely to engage in deceit, deception, or omissive behaviors, which also means they're 8 times more likely to be charged with a fraud-related offense due to doing some form of dishonest conduct in business, which is not where you want to go. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone who focuses on money is full of shit and a big dirty lie, but it does mean it increases the probability of certain behaviors and certain traits that those people might carry coming out in normal everyday people because they're focusing on the wrong thing. So my advice to you is when it comes to focusing on money, the only time you should ever be focusing on money is when you're looking at your financial reports, either every fortnight or every month. You should be at an absolute minimum looking at your numbers every month. So I think you should be focusing on your money every month or every fortnight, but you're not focusing on it from the perspective of how can I get more of this stuff? You're focusing on the perspective of how am I managing it? You know, is there an order, is there a structure, is there a level of appreciation to what I'm doing with this substance as it's coming into my world? Am I measuring it, not just how much it's coming in and where it's coming from, but also how much it's going out and where it's actually going to? And am I also trying to reduce those costs to ensure that I protect, what it is that I have, in my stead and in my care? So look, I was going to answer this question before, and I was almost in my head going to start answering before that it's okay to start focusing, it's okay to focus on money at the start, but then I started to think all the mistakes that I made. Like, I made so many mistakes, and I see so many other people making so many mistakes as well when they focus on the money. It's just, to me, based on my experience with what I've learned, I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't gone through that period of focusing on money first, because it was the focus on money that led to the mistakes that actually created enough pain that awoken me into a completely new and different perspective that I may not have had if I had just gone down the purpose path to begin with. So I'm not going to say that it's never okay to focus on money, but what I am going to say is the sooner that you can move away from money and focus on something greater than making money, like your purpose, why you're here, what you're here to do, the impact that you want to leave behind, the legacy that you want to leave on this planet once you depart, the sooner your life is going to get into a much better state of flow for you to move in the right direction where it is you want to go. Just don't focus on the money. It's money. Okay, so think about this. Most people get really excited about money, but I then say to that person, how would you like to have $1 million? Like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. But imagine you can only ever visit that $1 million in a room, and there's no seats, there's no chairs, there's no bed. You just walk in, there's just $1 million. You can't take it out, you can't spend it. Would you love it as much then? No, you wouldn't, because it would just be an innate object sitting there that's just a material object that doesn't mean anything. There's no value with it unless you can do something for it, do something with it. Money has no value. The value of money comes from what it can actually give us, and we need to be focusing on what we want from the money, not the money itself. Because for me, one of the things that I've learned about money is when you focus on doing business well, when you focus on delivering value, when you focus on good business practice and principles, money is a natural consequence. And I think the challenge for most people is they're actually focusing on the consequence, not on the action. And when you're focusing on the consequence, if you're focusing on money, okay, you're going to make a lot of silly and stupid mistakes. But if you're focusing on delivering the things that will, as a consequence, create the money, then the money just takes care of itself. Just focus on the thing that produces the money and get money out of your head. The only time you should be thinking about money is twice a month or once a month when you're looking at your financials and you're looking at where the money's coming from, but most importantly, where is that money going, and you're making sure that you're trying to protect it and cut the costs every time you look at it.
Is it because it's draining to think about the money? Or?
It's draining, it's stressful, it increases the likelihood of stress-related illness and disease. Because when you're focusing on money and it's not coming in, okay, you're going to get stressed. If your main focus is money and it isn't coming in, you will get stressed, okay, if that's your focus and your love. But if you focus on what you love and the money's not coming in, yeah, you still might experience some stress, but you're not going to be as stressed because you're actually doing something that brings joy to your life. You can't be happy and miserable at the same time. But if you're focusing on money as your outcome, you're not getting it. It'll be very easy to be miserable. But if you're focusing on what you love, okay, and you're doing what you love, you'll be happy even if you're not making money, because you'll be focusing on doing something you actually genuinely love. Those two emotions can't mix together at the same time, but they do work independently very well in the wrong situations. Just take control of the situation.
Paul Easton on YouTube says, hey Kerwin, how to deal with holding on to an expected outcome?
So how to let go of attachment?
Yeah, how to deal with the holding on to expectations.
The best way to deal with attachment is to let go. I know, right? Sounds cliche. When I talk about attachment and again, the quote that I use that really describes this best is whatever you need in life will control you. And the things that we're attached to are the things that will have the power to control us. Because if you're really attached to, love or that feeling of love, you are opening yourself up to the possibility of being controlled by the people that you see have the potential to give you love. If you need money, if you need health, whatever it is that you feel like you need, you will be controlled by the people who potentially hold the keys to you unlocking and receiving what it is that you actually need. So for me, it's about surrendering, and surrendering for me, it isn't about giving up, it's about letting go. And letting go for me is looking at the emotional attachment that I have to the outcome. Because I can be attached to something and it doesn't happen and I'm completely neutral. And I can be attached to something and it doesn't happen and I get upset. The only difference being is the emotional investment between the two different outcomes. And for me, I have healthy levels of attachment to a lot of things, to every single team member here, to my family and to friends and everything else. But what I have known, especially with team, you might have people that come into your life that you become very attached to, but then they leave. And when you're in business, if you've been in business for long enough, that's going to happen with, so often, especially if you go through a number of businesses at a scale, that you get to the point where it just becomes normal. I still remember going back, 15 years ago when someone used to leave, I used to get really up. I used to take it personally. I wouldn't get really upset, but I get upset. Now when someone leaves, I just shake their hand and smile and wish them luck. And I literally, and I mean this, I feel nothing. I feel nothing. And the reason I feel nothing is because I'm no longer emotionally invested in the things that are around me. I like the things around me. I love many of the things around me, but I also understand that life is short and things are fleeting and things come and things go. Life is something that's precious and fleeting, but also people are precious and fleeting. And some people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And whether it be you're attached to a person or attached to an outcome, you've got to look at what the emotional investment is behind that. And that really comes down to, what does that mean? What does this relationship mean if it ended? And I think once we really look at that, it gives us the ability to be able to remove whatever that emotional attachment is. Because that emotional attachment, and this is what that I learned and realized within myself, the emotional attachment is actually the delusion, because we're attached to something that isn't real. Because a lot of people can't really distinguish between what is real and what isn't when it comes to emotion. Because have you ever taken something the wrong way, when you've been sensitive or when you've been upset? And it wasn't that what was said to you was bad, it was just you were in the frame of mind that filtered the information in a way that made it mean something that it didn't, and you got upset. Okay, because you were in a delusion, you were intoxicated by emotions. And emotions, they delude us. Emotions intoxicate us, but emotions are also the hooks behind the attachments that we put on things, because the attachments that we put on things, when they're taken away, what does that trigger? That triggers emotion. So it is the emotion that is hooked into the things that we think we want, that when they're removed, trigger the emotions in the outpouring. But if there is no emotional attachment, there is nothing to be attached to. And when things leave, you can actually see the beauty in what the experience has been, which is both sides. Because I'm not saying I never get upset when someone leaves. I don't get upset, but I see, I'll sometimes say, oh, that's a shame because, but I'm also glad because. I can see both sides. And when we allow ourselves to be neutral of emotion, and aware of the emotional attachments that we have, we can start working on removing those attachments by just becoming conscious. And a lot of people say, well, how do I remove attachment? Just become conscious of the attachment in the first place, and it will start to dissolve. As long as you realize it's there and you start working on letting it go, letting it go, letting it go, letting it go, letting it go. And it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. Just let it go. Surrender. Surrender isn't about giving up, it's about letting go.
So attachments and expectations are like false creations, though, like we tell
Well,
ourselves.
I don't think there's anything wrong with an expectation as long as you're not attached to it. Expectations are very healthy. We plan every month, every quarter, every year. We plan, so we have expectations of what the things that we want to do. But for the most part, we have very different emotional responses that come up if they're achieved or not achieved. So for us, when we look at the attachment of the outcome or the expectation, if we achieve it, we'll celebrate, but we won't go overboard with the celebration. Okay, and if we don't achieve it, we won't get upset, because we don't go overboard with getting upset. We just look at what are the lessons learned. What did I learn from this? How's this going to make us better the next time? What is this giving us that we didn't have before, and how can we use this information moving forward to be even better next time?
Got a little meditation question from Patrick Durey. Hey Kerwin, you did a great video on meditation. Is there any particular mantras to get very deep, very quick?
In order to get deep very quick, my belief is it's got nothing to do with the mantra and everything to do with the discipline and the practice. It's like saying to someone, have you got a special strategy that would make my business grow really fast? Because when we talk about getting deep fast, like that's an experience. That's the experience of an experienced sitter or someone who's an experienced meditator, like someone who sits on a regular basis, who meditates on a regular basis. We have the ability to go down fast and very quickly, but that comes with discipline, that comes with practice. And I've been meditating for almost 20 fucking years. Like, I've been meditating since I was, my mum started teaching me meditation when I was probably before I was even 10, but actual structured meditation, like Vipassana, and Transcendental, I've almost been doing that for 20 years. And it's only really been in the last 5 years where I actually feel like I'm getting a handle on it. Now, I know that's going to be really depressing for most people, going, well, fuck, and for me, it's already a challenge. But this is the thing, when you go to the gym for the first time, it's going to be a challenge. When you start lifting something for the first time, it's going to hurt. But the more you lift it, the stronger that muscle gets and the less pain you have and the more you can push through. And meditation is the same, and the expectation that there is a particular mantra that will allow you to drop in faster and quicker and stronger, you're just looking at meditation the wrong way. And I'm not saying there aren't certain mantras that are maybe better than others. I'm sure there could be. I do know of someone actually very famous, who I won't mention their name. They told me when they were given their mantra from Transcendental Meditation, they didn't like the mantra they were giving, so they went and got another master and got master and got a different mantra. But for me, it's got nothing to do with the mantra, and it's got everything to do with the discipline and the practice and the willingness to just keep showing up and sitting every day. Sitting multiple times a day. Like, I'm in a bit of a phase right now. I'm meditating most days right now. I'm meditating 4 times a day. 4 times a day for between 20 to 40 and sometimes 50 minutes at a time. And you might say, well, Kerwin, you've got too much time in your hands. No, I've just got a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, and I know that if I'm not doing this, that I'm going to be actually holding on, okay, and essentially trapping stuff that's going on emotionally in my life right now that could manifest into other problems. So meditation is a great way to release energy and just allow whatever's in your body to be released. And the deeper you go, the deeper you get into the things that can be released, but there's got to be a level of discipline and practice there. So there is no easy answer. I would like to tell you my Transcendental Meditation mantra, but I can't because it's a secret. That's what they tell you anyway. And look, there are so many mantras you can use. Like, you can do a thank you meditation where your mantra is just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's Om meditations where you can just focus on Om. There's many mantras you can use, and the purpose of the mantra is to focus the mind on a single point so that everything else can arise from behind it and be released. So it's not necessarily in every situation about finding a magic mantra, as it is about just finding your own groove by lots of discipline and lots of practice. Every day, every day. It's not a diet, it's not an event, it's a lifestyle, it's a way of life. Make it a way of life.
No magic pill.
There's no magic pill.
Final question from Ahlen.
Ahlen!
On Instagram.
Ahlen!
Ahlen Kikuchi. How do you stay hungry every day? How do you not get bored of doing the same thing every day?
Well, I stay hungry every day because I normally only eat once, maybe twice a day. And so I am legitimately hungry every day.
That's the end of the show.
That's the end of the show. Glad you asked the question. But what's interesting is, although it sounds like a metaphor, the connection between my actual physical hunger that I have now on a daily basis and my performance, they're actually intrinsically linked. Because I've actually discovered the more hungry I am, the harder that I work. It's kind of interesting. So I know we're not talking about the same thing, but in my mind the two are certainly connected. But the way that I stay hungry is by focusing on my purpose, by focusing on my mission, by focusing on where it is that I want to go. It's not that I don't take the time to experience where I am now, but the way that we stay hungry is by looking at what we're here to do, and focusing on the work that has to be done. But more importantly, also by realizing that, time is limited. Your life is finite, and you don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow. That's the reality of it. Every single day, and this might sound strange, but every single day without fail, I wake up, and when I wake up and before I go to bed, I always ask myself this question: is this going to be my last day? Now, 7 near-death experiences does that to you, but also 7 near-death experiences make you realize how fragile life is, how precious life is, and how it can be just taken away at a moment's notice. So for me, one of the reasons I stay hungry is because I am hungry, literally physically hungry on a daily basis, and I like being hungry, like I like the feeling of being hungry. Okay. The second thing is I focus on what I'm here to do. And the third thing is I realize that, I may not be here for another day, another week, another month, another year, another 10 years or 20 years. And so in the time that I've got, we've just got to make the most with what we've got, because when that time is up, when the bell goes, I guarantee you're going to be wanting more, and it's going to be too late. And so, make the most of it while you can. Don't die with the music inside.
Do you think a lot of people are surprised by death? They're like, oh shit.
Oh shit, it's here. Yeah. I think death is like, for most people, it's like a relationship ending, or it's like a bank foreclosing. It's something they think will never happen to them. You know, it always happens to other people. You know, unless it's age-related decline, death. You know, people getting old and they're starting to die. Then they start to realise more and the impact of their mortality. But you know, I often think it's the sudden mortality that really wakes people up the most, because it's not a slow, gradual decline. It's just something that happens really fast. You know, Napoleon Hill talks about it in his book Think and Grow Rich, where you know, there are three triggers that he's identified that have been hugely fundamental to propel certain individuals towards, you know, radical levels of success and wealth. You know, and the first one was, you know, meeting someone that they loved, that inspired them to, you know, become more hungry. So all of a sudden they weren't just, you know, going out and trying to hunt for themselves, they were hunting for someone else. And that has a tendency to make people hungry. The second one was the birth of a child. And again, that's something that makes people hungry. I've now got this being that I have to serve. I've got this being that I need to be of service for and make sure they've got food. So you become hungry to go and, you know, serve for them and be able to give to them. And the third thing is mortality. And mortality, as Napoleon talks about it, is either experiencing your own mortality with either a near-death experience with self or someone close to you dying. And I can tell you, I've not only nearly died 7 times, but by the age of 23, I'd lost 12 mates to either drug overdose, murder, and car accidents, and even drink driving. You know, I've lost an unusual amount of people in my life, and I'm very grateful for that, and I'm grateful for the pain that it's developed, because it's also reinforced this perspective that, you know, life is short, and I don't think that is a bad perspective. I think it's a healthy perspective and one that keeps me hungry every day. I want to be able to leave here and know the moment that I leave, that if I'm leaving now, that my son has something that, you know, that will enable him to, you know, live for the rest of his life in a way that can allow him to pursue what he wants, but also give him a memory that would inspire him to be, you know, to do something greater than just going to make money. And where I feel like I am in my life right now, if I died tomorrow, you know, I'd be okay. I'd be devastated that I wouldn't get to see my son grow up. I'd be absolutely devastated, but on the other hand, you know, I'd feel like I've left a legacy that's strong enough for Noah to follow when he's old enough to be aware and, you know, yeah, get something from it.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
That was episode 10 of the Hey Kerwin Show. Hashtag Hey Kerwin with your questions, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. But we have to have the question of the day. The question of the day is, if you could transform any area of your life, what area of your life would it be? What is the one area of your life right now that is in need of the greatest levels of transformation? Write it below, get aware, and let's do something about it. Free hugs.
Can I give you a real hug?
Yeah, give me a real hug. Not from behind.